In a city of glass towers, polished shoes, and million-dollar meetings, a homeless teenager did the unthinkable. He looked down, not in shame, but with clarity. He saw what no one else dared to: a broken mother, a silent child, and a sliver of hope. What he said changed everything. But first, she turned away. Morning in downtown Atlanta had its own kind of music. Honking horns, espresso machines hissing behind glass counters, and the tap-tap rhythm of heels on concrete. The air buzzed with appointments and ambition. Everyone had somewhere to be. No one had time to look down. Chloe Richards didn't usually walk. She was driven, scheduled, and efficient. But today, she pushed her daughter's wheelchair down the clinic's front ramp herself. A gesture she told herself was for fresh air. Maybe control. Maybe guilt. May, 8 years old, sat silently in the chair, her thin frame tucked into a lavender blanket. Her legs, untouched by motion since the crash, rested lifelessly on the footrests. Her eyes didn't meet her mother's, or anyone else's. 3 months, 92 days, no words, no movement below the waist. The doctors gave hope in measured percentages: physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Time, they said, like it was a prescription you could refill. Chloe checked every box, paid every bill, hired the best. And still, her daughter stared forward like nothing inside her was reachable anymore. Across the street, tucked under the concrete overpass next to the rehab center, sat a boy. At first, Chloe didn't notice him. No one did. He was black, maybe 14, wrapped in a jacket that had seen more winters than he had birthdays. A plastic bag sat beside him, filled with crumpled water bottles and an empty peanut butter jar. His sneakers were duct-taped at the soles, but his eyes weren't downcast. He wasn't asking for change. He wasn't even moving. He was watching May. Not in the way people sometimes gawked, awkward curiosity or pity or revulsion. He watched like someone reading a very old book with a missing final chapter. Patient. Quiet. Chloe noticed it in the corner of her eye. That kind of gaze made her skin prickle. She kept walking. Fast. Just a dirty kid, she muttered under her breath. But the moment lingered. That night, Chloe slept in the back seat of her Tesla in the underground garage of their Buckhead condo. May, curled next to her, was finally asleep, the blanket drawn to her chin. Chloe stared at the car's dark ceiling, her mind replaying the clinic, the progress reports, the silence. And then, the boy's voice. It had come just as she passed him. "Ma'am," he'd said. Soft, but certain. She had paused, just long enough to register that he was speaking to her. "Your daughter will walk again." It was the way he said it. Not hopeful, not desperate. Just clear. She turned, sharp. "What did you say?" He hadn't flinched. His hand rose, not reaching, but steady. "I can help her. Please, just one chance." She'd scowled. "That's not funny. Stay away from us." Then she'd pushed the chair faster, now in the dark, engine off, heater humming low. She couldn't stop hearing it. She will walk again. Not maybe, not if. Just, she will. The next morning, Chloe pulled into the clinic parking lot and saw him again. Same spot, same posture, like he had never moved. She hesitated. Her hand stayed on the key, but the engine didn't shut off. May stirred beside her, mumbling in her sleep. Against her better judgment, Or maybe because of it, Chloe got out. He looked up as she crossed the street. No fear, no smile. "Why did you say that yesterday?" she asked, arms crossed. He stood slowly. His limbs were thin, stretched too fast, too hungry. But his eyes, they didn't blink much. "Because it's true," he said. "You don't know her." "I watched her," he said simply. "The way she looks at her legs. They still remember." Chloe said nothing. 92 days. Not even a twitch. Not even when she dropped her tablet near her feet and yelled. Not even a dream twitch. The only movement May made was when a nurse adjusted her. "You're not a doctor," Chloe said finally. "No, ma'am. I learned from my mom. She worked with veterans, paralyzed guys, massage and reflex therapy. I helped her." He hesitated. "Before they kicked us out of the shelter." The words fell flatly, no dramatics, just fact. Chloe exhaled. She noticed his hands, raw knuckles, dirt under the nails, but calm, controlled. She opened her purse and pulled out a 5, then stopped. Instead, she said, "You hungry?" He nodded once. She brought him a coffee and a sandwich from the shop next door. He sat across from her at a metal patio table, peeling the paper back like it was made of silk. "You're not just some street kid, are you?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, ma'am." She watched him chew slowly, then said, "Tomorrow. There's a park 3 blocks from here. Noon. You show me." He paused mid-bite. "Really? I'm not promising anything. You get one chance." He nodded. Chloe didn't tell anyone, but that night she broke her silence in the therapy session. Dr. Geller was skeptical. "You're going to let a homeless teenager touch your daughter? Chloe, I understand desperation, but this is a legal nightmare." She said nothing. The next day, at 11:55, she was already at the park. May sat bundled in her chair, her hair braided neatly. Chloe scanned the grass. No sign. She was about to leave when she saw him, jogging across the lawn, a grocery bag in one hand, a thin blanket under the other. "I'm not late," he said, slightly breathless. "I was at the shelter. Had to borrow these." He laid out the blanket carefully. Inside the bag, a sock filled with warm rice, a tennis ball, a small vial of eucalyptus oil, a rag. Chloe watched, frozen. He didn't speak much, just nodded at May, asked her softly, "May I?" May blinked once. He sat cross-legged at her feet, unlaced her shoes gently, pulled down her socks. Chloe inhaled sharply. No one touched her legs without gloves, charts, and invoices. He placed the warm sock along May's right heel, then massaged the ball of her foot. Light pressure. Rhythmic. Chloe wanted to stop him, to say this is crazy, but she didn't. Something about the quiet, the way he worked like he was remembering, not improvising, kept her still. 30 minutes passed, then 40, and then it happened. So small, she almost missed it. May's left toe twitched, a single tremor, but it was real. Chloe gasped. "May?" No response. But the toe twitched again. She fell to her knees. A sound escaped her lips. Not quite a sob, not quite a prayer. The boy didn't look up. He simply reached for the blanket and gently covered May's legs. "It's gonna take time," he said, his voice even. "But she's still in there. Her body remembers." Chloe turned away, tears streaming silently. The boy gathered his things, nodded once, and walked off, disappearing down the sidewalk like he'd never been there at all. But Chloe knew she'd be back tomorrow, and so would he. Some hands heal not because they are trained, but because they are steady. In a world obsessed with credentials, a boy without a last name offered something more powerful: presence. And Chloe, who had bought every answer money could buy, found herself trusting someone with nothing to his name except a blanket, a tennis ball, and eyes that had seen too much. The next morning, Chloe didn't hesitate. She bundled May into the car, placed the blanket from last night in the trunk without a word, and drove toward the same park with a strange tightness in her chest. Not fear, not exactly hope either. Something that felt like both. May stared out the window the whole time, her face calm but far away. Chloe still hadn't told her what they were doing. She wasn't sure May cared, but Chloe cared. Yesterday changed something. Not just the toe twitch, but the quiet. The boy, the way he hadn't bragged, hadn't asked for anything. The way he'd worked with such care, like May was his sister, or his miracle. He was already there when they arrived. Same jacket, same bag. This time, he brought a plastic stool to sit on. He nodded when he saw them and unfolded the blanket again. Chloe wheeled May over without speaking. She didn't need to ask anymore. "Her circulation's a little better today," the boy said as he removed May's socks. "That's good." Chloe blinked. "How can you tell?" He smiled. "The color in her toes. It's pinker. Not as dusky. Cold feet don't mean nothing if the blood's still learning its route back." He rubbed May's calves gently. His hands were too big for his thin wrists, like they hadn't caught up with his body yet. But he moved with intention. Each stroke had memory. Chloe couldn't look away. "I never asked," she said after a while. "Your name?" "Elliot," he said, still focused on May's foot. "Elliot Brooks." "Where do you stay, Elliot?" He hesitated. "Wherever's not locked." She frowned. "The shelter? Sometimes, if they have room. Or under the West 5th Bridge. You can keep warm near the vent. There's this guy who plays guitar there at night. He's got a dog. He lets me split food sometimes." She nodded slowly. "And your mom?" His hands paused. "Gone. Couple years now. She got real sick. We tried the hospital, but she didn't have insurance. I was 12. When she died, I bounced. System tried to catch me, but I got good at not being seen." Chloe sat back. Her leather gloves crinkled in her hands. "You talk like an adult." "I had to be one early," he said. He reached into his bag, pulled out the tennis ball, and started rolling it under May's heel in slow circles. "Why her?" Chloe asked suddenly. "There's 1,000 people in this city. Why did you stop us?" Elliot didn't answer for a moment. Then, "Because when you pushed her past me that first day, I saw her blink, like she heard something inside her own legs. You looked forward, like most people, but she looked down." He smiled faintly. "I think she wants back in." Chloe's throat tightened. May didn't react, but Chloe saw it, the tiniest flutter in her eyelids, as if something deep within her stirred. Later that evening, Chloe sat across from Dr. Geller again. This time she didn't ask permission. "He's not licensed," Geller said flatly. "He's not trained. This isn't a safe model of care." "But May responded," Chloe argued. "One spasm isn't progress. It's anecdotal. I'm not asking for clinical validation. I'm telling you what happened." Dr. Geller leaned forward, steepling his fingers. Chloe, I've been treating trauma cases for 20 years. The mind and body are complex. Don't misplace your hope. But she wasn't misplacing it. She was finally placing it somewhere real. The next day, she brought Elliot a pair of clean gloves. "Thanks," he said, almost shy. "You ever go to school?" "A little, till my mom got sick. I learned to read off her magazines, health stuff, therapy journals. She used to read them out loud when she practiced." Chloe handed him a paper cup of soup and sat next to him. "You know you talk like someone twice your age, right?" Elliot shrugged. "I don't got time to act like a kid." She didn't argue. He worked May's legs again, pressure on the arch, thumb across the ankle bone, warm compress on her calves. 40 minutes in, May's right foot twitched. Then again. Chloe gasped. "She did it again!" Elliot didn't flinch. "Yeah, that one's waking up." "How do you know how to do this?" she asked. "My mom taught me patterns, where the nerves talk." She used to say the body has whispers before it screams. Most doctors wait for the scream. Chloe looked at him like he wasn't real. "You're not normal." "No, ma'am, but maybe that's good." Word spread faster than she expected. The day after May's second response, Chloe got a call from someone in the mayor's office. "We're calling about an incident, ma'am," the voice said stiffly. "Incident?" "A person you've been associating with, a minor, has no records in our school system, foster care, or ID database. He may be undocumented. We advise caution." She hung up without answering. The next day, Elliot was gone. She waited at the park. Noon, then 1, 2. Nothing. She checked under the bridge he mentioned. Nothing. She called the shelter. Nothing. That night, she didn't sleep. The following morning, she left early, scouring bus stops, train stations, alleyways. Still nothing. On the third day, she found him. He was huddled behind the old public library downtown, his lips split, bruises on his cheek. His blanket was gone. He held his side like something was broken. "Jesus," Chloe breathed. "What happened?" He looked up, blinking against the sunlight. "Someone caught me sleeping in the back of a condemned building, kicked me out, with a pipe." "Why didn't you go to a hospital?" "I ain't got papers." She helped him up. "I can't let you disappear again," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to." "You don't have to sleep on the street. Not anymore." That night, Elliot slept on a mattress beside the fireplace in Chloe's house. May curled up on the couch near him, watching him like he was a bedtime story she didn't want to end. He used a pillow Chloe hadn't touched in years. In the middle of the night, May stirred. Chloe heard it. A shuffle. Not just the usual turning. A foot moved. She didn't dare speak, just sat up, hands over her mouth. May's knee bent, not far, just a few inches. But it bent. Some voices don't need sound. Some miracles don't need ceremony. In a house where silence once echoed louder than grief, a boy with nothing gave them everything. And when the world came asking questions, Chloe gave only one name, the one who had already done the impossible. The next morning, Chloe didn't bring May to the clinic. She didn't need to. Instead, May sat on the edge of the living room couch, her feet flat on the ground, a little wobbly, but planted. Elliot sat on the floor in front of her, holding her ankles gently in place. "Ready?" he asked softly. May blinked, then nodded. The first deliberate response she had given in months. Chloe stood near the wall, phone in hand, but not recording. She didn't want to interfere. May's toes curled, her right knee lifted, a small, uncertain shift forward, and then her weight fell to the left. Elliot caught her immediately, helping her sit back down. It wasn't a full step. Not yet, but it was the attempt. The choice. Chloe clutched the blanket over her chest and let out a shaky laugh, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You saw this before any of us," she whispered to Elliot. He didn't look up. He only smiled at May and said, "Told you your legs still remembered." May didn't speak, but she smiled, for the first time in 92 days. Later that afternoon, Chloe called her closest colleague, Tyler, from her startup. "I need to talk to you about someone," she said. Within hours, her phone rang again, this time from the city's youth outreach department. "We're looking into a case," the voice said. "What kind of case?" "A minor, male, no last name in the system, possibly undocumented, possibly a runaway. You've been seen with him." Chloe's jaw tightened. "He's not a case," she said. "He's a healer." Elliot disappeared that night, not a word. Chloe found his pillow still warm the next morning, the blanket folded, his shoes gone. She drove to every shelter, under every bridge, left food with handwritten notes. "Please come back. You're safe." But days passed. Nothing. May regressed. The movement stopped. Her eyes dulled again. Chloe refused to believe it was coincidence. On the 5th day, she found him behind the same condemned building, hiding beneath a tarp, eyes bruised but open. "What happened?" she whispered, kneeling beside him. "Got chased again. Cops this time. Said I was trespassing." She reached for his arm. "You should have come home." "I didn't want to cause more trouble for you," he said. "You're not trouble," she said, voice cracking. "You're the only thing that's worked." That night, Chloe brought him home again. She made him a bed near the fireplace. May rolled herself toward him and placed her small hand on his shoulder. He turned. She didn't say a word, but her eyes said everything. "Thank you." 1 week later, May took her first step. Not in therapy, not on camera, but barefoot, in the living room, toward Elliot. One step, then another. Chloe screamed, fell to her knees. May wobbled, giggling soundlessly as Elliot steadied her. "You're doing it," he whispered. She nodded. Chloe posted a photo that night, not of May walking, but of Elliot's hands holding hers. The caption read, "Today, I didn't learn from a surgeon. I didn't learn from a degree. I learned from a boy who sleeps on cement, but heals like no one else I've ever met. Thank you, Elliot. You taught my daughter to believe again." The post hit 2.3 million views in 48 hours. The messages flooded in. Journalists, therapists, nonprofits. One call stood out. A local foundation that specialized in youth mentorship and community healing. "We want to sponsor his education," they said. "We want to help him get ID, insurance, even training, if he wants it." Chloe looked at Elliot as the offer rang out on speakerphone. He was quiet. Then, "Can I still help people?" "More than ever," the woman replied. He smiled and nodded. 3 weeks later, Chloe walked into May's therapy session. But this time, Elliot was beside her. In clean clothes, a visitor's badge clipped to his collar, a folder under his arm. Dr. Geller blinked at him. "You're the boy," he said. "Elliot," he replied. "Yes, sir." May sat up straighter. "Is this safe?" Geller asked, unsure now. Chloe leaned in. Don't you want to see a miracle happen again? That spring, May walked into school for the first time without assistance. Elliot waited outside the gate, not as her therapist, not as her hero, just as her friend. May turned to him, opened her mouth. A whisper came out. Thank you. It was her first word since the accident. Elliot didn't answer. He just smiled. At the annual city gala, Chloe was invited to speak. She wore a navy suit. Her notes were folded in her palm, but she didn't read them. Instead, she told the story of a boy who noticed when no one else did, who gave his gift without expecting applause, who taught her daughter to walk again, with nothing in his hands but faith. Elliot Brooks changed our lives, she said to the room. He didn't need a title to do it, just time and trust. She paused, then added, he didn't ask to be seen, but now he will never be invisible again. On the wall of the rehabilitation center, near the check-in desk, a new plaque appeared the following week. It read, "You don't have to be someone important to do something important." Elliot Brooks.